Eugene Fairbanks, and my Welsh heritage begins with my grandfather, John Hughes, who was born in 1867 in Wales and came over to this country in the 1890s, like many of the other Welsh immigrants, with new hope for the future and jobs in the slate quarry industry, which was very prevalent in Vermont and along the New York border around that time. Shortly after, my grandmother, Sarah Ellen Evans, came over with her family, and she was younger than my grandfather. I think she was born in around 1876, and they met here and married and settled in West Paula, Vermont, a little small village in Vermont that honestly hasn't changed much from that time to the present day. And it was here that they raised 11 children, and my mother being the baby or the youngest of the group. And my grandfather passed away in 1926 because of a blasting accident at the quarry. And at that time, my grandmother was left with 11 children, and it was very difficult for the family. And the older children were able to get jobs and contribute to the economic welfare of raising the younger children. And so that's how my heritage began in Vermont.
So did any of your ancestors work in the Granville slate quarries?
Well, Granville is actually almost right on the border, and some of the quarries did filter over into the Granville quarries, and a lot of it had to do with which quarries were prospering at the time and so forth.
Did you ever take part in any celebrations of Welsh heritage? Or do you not have any family that participated in any celebrations?
Well, the great Welsh celebrations, the Eisteddfod, which was mainly a competition of poetry and song. In the early days of West Paula, before I was born, they were very prevalent, and it was a big event, and people dressed up in costumes and celebrated their Welsh heritage. And my family, my brother, I have an older brother, 3.5 years older than I am, he participated in the Welsh Male Chorus, very famous choir that toured the East, and he was also in the Welsh band along with my father. And so there was a lot of family activity involved with the Welsh heritage.
Do you have any Welsh decorative art around your home?
Yes, we have a few things. We have these Welsh spoons, which are very symbolic of love and other things in the Welsh heritage. And these are hand-carved spoons that are supposed to bring you good luck and good fortune and good love. And we also have, there's also many other things around the house that are involved with our Welsh heritage. The flag that's flying right out front now, the green, white, and flag with a beautiful red dragon on it, that's a very decorative piece, and I love that flag. And that's usually flying in good weather. And we also have a lot of other little things, a calendar that has a lot of Welsh scenes, and so here and there are little spots of our Welsh heritage.
What kind of art do you make, and how is it influenced by your Welsh heritage or where you grew up in Granville?
Well, the art that I make usually is, a lot of it is from my surroundings in the area, and including scenes from the slate quarries, the Vermont marble quarries, the farms, the animals, the people that exist here. And usually in my art I try to tell some sort of story. This is a painting that I did of my grandfather. I did this from a photograph because he died long before I was born, and I never really knew him. But this painting is now in the Slate Valley Museum in Granville, and this was a poster of a show that I had there with my daughter Shelley several years ago. I try to get into the feeling of what it was like in many of my paintings of working at the quarry, and in this painting of the slate quarry, I'm looking out of one of the little shanties or shacks that the men used to go into and sit when it was cold, or to eat their lunch, or to get warm in winter. And I tried to get the feeling of looking out through these glass panes at these other shanties and the rock and the dismal surroundings, and tried to show the lunchbox on the side and the oil can and things that were necessary for running a quarry. Here's a photo of my grandfather working at the quarry, showing some of the tools that they used, and also a section of another man with one of the big mallets. This is a modern day painting I did of a quarryman that is owned by the Slate Valley Museum, and here I tried to show the modern technology for breaking up the rock and so forth, and the machinery used. I have to remember that when my grandfather came over, that this was all done by hand, and probably the greatest tool they had was the dynamite that they used to blow the rock apart. So in my work, I've been very much influenced by Vermont and other things in the environment. This is, let me get a modern painting. I just finished this. And this is a painting about Vermont, because not only were the slate quarries there, and that's where I live, but I always loved this state. I think it offers so much. The mountains are beautiful, relaxing, and the mountains kind of flow out of the meadows. And in this painting, I have used a slate quarry here. This is a painting about Vermont, all of the symbols and mottos and so forth, and the state capitol and state fruit, horse, flag, and everything. I tried to work it into a scene. But the slate quarries somehow always seem to be able to work into the scene, so they've been very influential in my career.
Have you worked with slate as a material for your artwork?
Yes, I've worked with slate for my uncle. For 2 summers while I was going to college, I worked for him, and we had to work on slate roofs, and a lot of these slates were decorative and used a lot of different colors of slate. I was mainly a helper and carried slate to where the men were installing it. For one of my projects when I was in college, we were supposed to design a small piece of furniture using wood or other materials, and I remember I came home, and this very table right here I made in probably 8 days. I had no power tools. All I had was a handsaw, and my father for years had been collecting unusual colored pieces of slate, and he had worked part-time for my uncle Robert, who was the roofer, and these were stored out in back of our house behind like a barn type garage. And I asked my dad if I could have some of them, and he said, well, go ahead, help yourself. And so over that period I used a slate hammer. A slate hammer has a handle and a long blade on it, a sharpened blade on one side, and the front has a little hammer part, and on the other side is like a pointed it's a pointed instrument. This was something that was used by slate workers when they were on a roof. If they were going to have a fall, they could take the pointed end of the hammer and slam it into the roof, and it would hold them till someone rescued them. But I used the side of it to cut all these pieces of slate, to fit them together, sawed the wood, designed it, and my dad, being the great person he was, he drove me back to college. I was going to New Paltz at the time, and I delivered this piece of furniture, which was put together in a little over a week. And I also used slate when I was a kid to make chalk drawings on and things of that nature. So it's always been a part of me. And I even have a souvenir on this hand, which is a scar across my hand where I was hanging on a slate roof just before I fell. I don't like heights today, and that's got a lot to do with it. And so, yeah, it's been a part of my life. And as a kid, when other kids played on mountains, we played on the slate dumps because they were like 50 yards away from our houses in West Pollitt.